It is the 22nd of February, 2013, and for whatever reason, I'm in studio by myself. Hey, it's Sack Head Shaun here with you. So we had kind of a weird thing happen this week. My co-host, Sack Head Clint, who is going to try to call in, is not in studio. He is stuck in the Midwest due to the snow that they had out there. And then sound engineer Soko had a call out tonight for whatever reason, probably just to drive me insane. So here we are. I am all by myself here in front of the show, and I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to talk about a few little things here and there, and then I'm going to get into play some old clips. Phone number tonight, 347-205-9399 if you want to chime in. I'm going to have plenty of time to screen calls and check you guys out because I'm going to be playing clips. So real quick before we get too far into it, last week we had we were talking about the Russian bombers, I think they were the Russian bear bombers that were over Guam. And, Clint brought up a couple really good points about it, and just there was an incursion on American airspace in Alaska and California in July, and then there was the Russian sub. And we're talking about, what are the Russians doing? Are they checking to see if, what the administration's response is going to be, if we're weak on it? Are they really just training as they say they are? And I don't believe so, but, that's just me. I don't trust anything they say. And part of me wonders if Putin isn't going to start pushing that country back towards a form of communism. And what better thing you need than unite the people and depend on the government than a common enemy, and in my opinion. So if he pushes these things around and he wants to get the economy going, he's already bolstering the military up huge in that country, and now he says, hey, you know what? We need an enemy. We need to poke somebody and have them poke back, and that way we can all get behind him, and then I can start to push legislation through. Weird. It's almost like that's happened in other countries. Legislation through to start getting people more dependent, and then I think his end game personally is going to be Chinese-style communism. And I only say that he's setting up alliances. He's former KGB. He was around during the communists. I think he likes the communist manifesto and just how communism is designed. That's just my personal opinion, folks. If anyone wants to chime on that, 347-205-9399. So the first clip I'm going to play tonight, and this comes from one of our first little podcasts we did, so the sound's a little weak. And it's from a little segment we call Badass in American History. Clint recommends a role for Clint Eastwood, and everyone knows who the great actor Clint Eastwood is. And again, the sound is rough because at that time we were just on a little laptop with one microphone, and we were trying to see if we could do anything here. So we discussed this complete badass that was around during the Revolutionary War. He was born British, and he ended up fighting for the Americans, the revolutionaries, against the colonists, against England. And this guy was just awesome, and we both agreed at the end that Clint Eastwood would be amazing at this. So have a listen to the clip, and if you want to chime in, the chat room's open and the phone number's open, so here you go.
Hey, it's Shaun from Sack Head Radio coming up on the show today, February 16, 2012. We talk about a potential Clint Eastwood role based on a very historical figure, a true American hero, and we'll talk about all that and whether or not birds migrate for any other reason other than to confuse us. The answer on that may surprise you. Coming up on the big show today.
We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
Hey, it's Shaun.
Hey, it's Clint.
How you doing?
Hey.
Welcome to Sack Heads Radio. Apparently, Clint had an idea, and we thought we'd discuss it. So.
Well, okay, this idea is brand new.
Okay.
Like literally an hour old, maybe.
Damn.
And since this is a show where we basically just turn on and record whenever the hell we feel like it.
How do you remember an hour ago?
I have a lot of coffee.
I'm impressed. Moving
Thank
on.
You. Anyways, I got an idea for a new Clint Eastwood movie.
I am listening because that sounds like an awesome idea.
Well, yeah, I love
It's Clint Eastwood.
I am named after him.
It's not a big deal.
It actually really is a big deal.
Kind of is.
I mean,
Anyhow.
Practically,
You're practically an Eastwood yourself.
Yeah, almost. Almost. In first name only.
Right. Because that's how it works.
Exactly.
I'm a Connery.
That's awesome. Hey, it's the Welcome to the Connery and Eastwood show. So listen.
The movie. Tell me about it. I'm interested.
Okay, it was actually about America's original badass. Basically, I'm going to tell you about a guy.
Okay.
His name was Samuel Whittemore.
Okay.
And from Revolutionary Times. And this guy, I think when God basically designed and made Chuck Norris, he had this guy in mind.
That's deep.
Well, I think if you combine like Samuel Whittemore and Clint Eastwood, you'll get Chuck Norris.
Okay.
This guy was kind of a big deal.
So he was like the original Terminator.
Yeah.
If you look at it that way.
Yeah, I would say
he'd
maybe,
still be kick-ass today, but he was that much of a badass originally too.
Right, or Predator, either way.
However you want to look at it.
Yeah, Daisy Duke. I'm just kidding. I have no idea how he looked in shorts.
I do.
And?
Pretty damn good.
Nice.
So tell me about this Samuel Whittemore guy.
Okay, so
because I think I've heard of him.
Well, I'm sure you have, considering where you're from.
Actually,
funny thing, he actually came from the same state that gave us Mitt Romney.
Wow.
Which is really sad, because you have on one hand.
Why are you going to go into politics about this?
Hang on a second. This Samuel Whittemore came from Massachusetts, correct?
Yes.
And where was Mitt Romney governor of?
Massachusetts.
Thank you. So we go from having an incredibly badass guy given to us by this state to having a complete.
You're losing it, though.
Okay.
You're telling me about a Clint Eastwood movie.
Right.
And then we're going into politics.
Yeah, all I said is from the same state.
Let's get back to there's a lot of other people from Massachusetts you could have brought up.
Name one.
New Kids on the Block. We're talking about badasses. That's the first one that comes to mind.
Hey, you dressed like them still, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I pegged my jeans.
So Mr. Whittemore was born in 1694. He actually lived a long time, especially back then, because he died in 1793. And he was
1793?
Yes.
That's like today. That would be like living to 200.
Practically.
Okay.
Yeah. It was almost like he was a cockroach. But the guy was a complete stud. He was born in England originally and came to North America, came to the colonies in 1745, and served in the army. He was an officer.
For the Brits.
For the Brits.
Originally.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what we were in 1745.
Right. No, I agree. Go ahead.
You agree that that's what we were in 1745?
I do. It has my stamp of approval, so now you can write all the books. All the history books can finally be written about it.
Sean fact-checked it. We were, in fact, part of England in 1745. So this guy fights in King George's War, and he fights in the French Indian War. He's captured both of those during both of those wars, and at the time of the start of the American Revolution, he's 80 years old, and
80 years young.
80. Well, yes, 80 years young, and he is the oldest combatant in the Revolution on record. I don't know, maybe some 90-year-old guy picked up a rifle.
Records weren't 100% back then when it comes to stuff like that, but anyhow.
I don't even think they had CDs, let alone records.
No, I think they were still on vinyl. Oh no, it was 8-track. It was 8-track.
Reel to reel. Like this show.
Pretty much how it's being recorded, folks.
So he's out working in his fields, and he sees the British Army marching from Lexington and Concord.
From the battles.
From the battles.
The original battle,
Correct.
Lexington and Concord.
Lexington and Concord.
Okay.
And he's out in his field, and for some reason he has a bunch of weapons with him, which is awesome.
That's how I garden.
Well, yeah, but you have pants. No, you don't have pants.
No pants when I'm gardening. You have to be one with the vegetables. Go on.
Whole different meaning.
Yeah.
So Mr. Whittemore, jumps behind a stone wall. I don't know if he actually jumped, but he ends up positioning himself behind a stone wall, and with his rifle or musket, I'm not sure if it was rifled or not, he takes a shot and actually hits one of the British troops.
Okay.
Kills one. Now, this is the part I love, because not only does he have his rifle with him, but he then draws his dueling pistols. Okay? So the guy has dueling pistols because, I don't know, somebody might piss him off while he's gardening, and so I challenge you to a duel. I mean, how badass is that?
Hey, maybe you always have to be prepared. You got to be prepared for everything when you're gardening, especially.
Exactly.
So you
have
need a
your
rifle
musket and your dueling pistols.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just in case somebody makes you angry.
Well, yeah.
So he fires 3 more shots.
I'll teach that damn plant not to grow.
Yeah. He ends up mortally wounding another British soldier. The first guy he shot was a grenadier. Took him out. The British detachment starts advancing on him, and by the time they reach him, now keep in mind this guy's already used a musket or a rifle and dueling pistols.
Well, yeah.
And I say musket and rifle because I don't know which one he has.
Right. It could have been either. I'm pretty sure. I would bet it's a musket, but that's
probably, but who knows? I think I don't know. I think they had rifle barrels at some point, but they weren't very common back then. So Whitmore then takes out his sword.
Well, why would you not?
Well, yes. Why would you not have your musket, your dueling pistols, and your sword?
This guy is a champ. That's
Thank
tits.
you. Exactly.
That is so tits. I absolutely love this guy.
And he then proceeds to attack them with a sword at 80 years old.
Jesus.
This guy gets shot in the face.
That sounds like me. I didn't want to get out of bed last week because my back hurt.
At 30-something years old.
At 30-something years old. Yeah, I'm not even 80.
I took ibuprofen because I woke up with a crick in my neck. This guy gets shot in the face. Yeah, that's not funny. He gets bayoneted 13 times.
Holy Jesus.
And gets left for dead. Left to die, right?
Well, at 80 years old, so he's shot in the face and then bayoneted 13 times. So
correct.
I'm assuming he expires. Because the story is already pretty amazing.
Yeah, he actually expired 18 years later.
At the ripe young age in 98?
Correct. He actually gets taken to a doctor, and I don't remember the doctor's name. You might remember the doctor's name.
I think it's Tufts.
Okay. Well, apparently this other guy was pretty Tufts. And, sorry, bad joke. I haven't had enough coffee yet. And so the doctor's like, oh, yeah, he's done. He's dead. He's not going to make it. Well, apparently the doctor was wrong because this guy made it, and at 80 years old, kicked the crap out of the British Army. It was awesome.
98 years old, he finally dies.
Yeah. Now tell me that would not be an awesome Clint Eastwood movie.
That would be the best Clint Eastwood. That would be a great Clint Eastwood. I don't want to say the best because there's a lot for it to go up against.
Josie Wales.
Yeah, there's a bunch. We could sit here all day.
And not to be disrespectful because I love Mr. Eastwood.
Yep.
But he could actually probably play this guy because Clint Eastwood is still enough of a badass to probably pull this off.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt in my mind that he would absolutely nail that part. That guy is Samuel Whittemore. Look him up. That guy is tits.
Look him up. Research it. We highly encourage it. Thank you for listening to our banter. Hope maybe you picked up a little bit of something. If you did, share it with a friend. If not, we really don't care.
Seriously.
This is seriously for our entertainment.
Keep it to yourself.
Awesome.
However, if you did pick something up and you want to share it, you can also check us out, sackheadsradio@blogspot.com. We're on Twitter @sackheadsradio.
Good coffee.
We have some sort of Facebook thing that I really don't even know the link to yet. And I don't. It's awful, but I don't.
Is brand new. Hey,
and we're on iTunes.
By the way,
we
went international.
I know.
Within 24 hours because of
I didn't want to brag.
Our first, it was kind of a big deal.
Our first show was up yesterday. I don't want to brag.
Yesterday? No, it wasn't. It was up a while ago.
Right. No, that's a good point. I'm thinking, you know what?
But it's okay.
I've been drunk in most of the morning. So we did go international.
It's kind of a big deal.
People in Germany have downloaded us.
And England.
So look out, Hoff and Ricky Gervais, because we're coming for your ass.
That's right. Hey, and for those of you in English, sorry I talked about an American hero who kicked your ass a long time ago.
Yeah, you know what? Most of them are kind of cool with that, because I'm sure he was originally British, so I'm sure they'll own it.
I hope so.
Me too. Thanks for listening, guys.
We'll talk
to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, so that was an old clip. That was from February. That's old for us. Let me rephrase that. That was from February 26th, of last year. So almost a year ago, that was one of our first absolute podcasts when we were first seeing if this was even, if we could make anything of it, and we still haven't answered that question yet. But the question I had tonight is Putin trying to push his country back to communism and or starting to start a conflict with America based on the conversation we had last week. And on the air right now, and we have Tami J. And Tami has her own show on the 405 radio on Tuesday nights, if I'm not mistaken, Tami. You also run The Right Voice, or I'm sorry, that's it, .com. I have so many notes in front of me. You are the editor-in-chief. You're everywhere. So if you don't know Tami, she's on Twitter at Tami J. And Tami, what's your response to that whole thing with Russia?
Well, I just am extremely worried because, as we used to call him during the W presidency, Rootin' Tootin' Putin, he was a little bit friendly during those years, but since then he's pulled back. And the fact is, with Russia, since the fall of the Soviet and communism and everything, there's been this huge vacuum. And there's nothing to come in that is a concrete economic system. There's no spiritual backbone. There's nothing there. So people are left with extreme and dire poverty, no good way to recoup anything economically, and there's no spiritual anything in that country because, of course, it was godless communism. So the state was going to take care of everything. The state was going to be the god and everything to the people, and then they're gone, and they're left with nothing. There's just no props, no anything left there. And so what you've got is a shell of a country that's waiting for something to move in, which is the perfect chance for something like the return of a strong-arm system such as the communist system that was there prior. So there's a lot of concern that Putin has ideas. He, as you know and I know, he's familiar with the whole communist system. That's what he came out of. That's what he knows. He knows a strong-arm system that tells the state what to do and has central planning. And the fear is that that's the way they're heading again. And, of course, Obama is doing nothing. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's golfing a lot. He and Tiger are golfing. And
hey, when Tiger makes the call, you have to answer it. I don't care if you're the president or not.
I know when he calls that bat phone at 3 a.m., you got to be on the tee.
Well, and it's one of those things too. I wonder, I'm sure there's been some sort of response in the back channel. He knows about it because it happened the night, the State of the Union was the last time. The military, from what I understand, at least scrambled. I don't know if I'm 100% on that, but I'm almost positive. But there's been nothing really from the administration like, hey, you know what? We're talking to Russia. It was even something. I don't care if it's a lie because they don't mind doing that, as we've proven in the past. But give me something. Acknowledge it. So I have another one of my friends, and you met him at probably the moment that he didn't mean for you to meet him because you didn't know him quite well enough when he cracked the joke. But my good friend Rooster from ConservativeOutcry.net is on the line, and he wishes to apologize because of the Twitter conversation. Rooster, sir, it's been a long time. Thank you for joining us. Tami is on. She's ready for your heartfelt, gentle apology, and don't make me hang up on you.
Well, I'm not sure that's possible, Clint or Shaun. You're right. Tami met me at a bad moment. Tami, I apologize if I said anything inappropriate. It is true that I do screw like a rabbit, but but it's been with the same rabbit for 22 years.
Oh, there you go. Well, then that's acceptable.
Well, it's one of those things, Tami. With Rooster, you have to understand something. Sometimes his sense of humor gets out ahead of everything else, and he does have a devious sense of humor and a really intelligent mind. And when the two cross, it's scary.
That it is.
Rooster.
Did you get a chance to read the post, Tami?
Do I get a chance to?
Oh, to read Rooster's post on Conservative Outcry.
I guess I haven't. And
well,
so what is wrong with me?
If you read the post, you'll understand the screwing like rabbits, the reference to Karl Marx, rubbers, and everything else. It's all woven into a very conservative message.
So does your significant other of all these 22 years or whatever know that you call her a bunny?
I've called her many names over the years. My significant other doesn't associate with me in my internet work.
Dealing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was. I was actually talking about how much my health care has gone up this year, and how I found out about it. It went up.
That would. You got to read it because I don't want to give the whole thing away.
Yeah. Well, it went up $2,600 a year, and the only thing that I see that I'm getting out of this is free birth control pills.
Oh my word! Sandra Fluke would be excited.
Oh, she's in the post too.
All right, so I got to be a good host and bring us back to the topic at hand. And Rooster, I'd love to get your opinion on this. With the incursions by Russia and Putin bolstering the military, what do you think his end game is? Do you think he's going back to communism or a form thereof?
Did they ever leave?
Well, they said they did.
Okay. Well, yeah, I almost hope Putin does poke us a couple times because, you know, much like what Tami said, that, you know, the people over here need a little kick in the pants too.
Yeah.
And maybe if he ruffled a couple feathers, people will come back down or come to their senses a little bit.
I can't believe that they're even invading our airspace or anything without extreme countermeasures immediately. That's just unheard of from our commander-in-chief. But of course, we've got the golfer or speech reader-in-chief or something. He's not really a commander-in-chief.
He's one hell of a golfer, though, from what I understand. And just so
we haven't had a commander since Reagan.
Yeah. Well,
I hate to say it.
By the Russians that they've done in the past, and even when they were still under communism back in the 80s, they did several incursions up over Alaska. That's usually because it's so close to that's where they like to do it, and then they can scurry back to their airspace. But they shot down a Korean airliner not too far off the coast of Alaska, if I'm not mistaken, back in the 80s. And they said that they thought it was a military plane. But, it'd be interesting to see if there's an escalation by them, if they push it even further, if they do something silly, quote-unquote, accidentally drop munitions, even if it's not arms. Rooster, knowing your history, and you have pretty good insight on this, and you were certainly active during the communists. Give me your insight. Where do you see them going?
I think they're about to poke the wrong person.
Yeah,
I really do.
And what's their end game?
I think that what's their end game?
Yeah,
they want to bring all the countries back into the fold.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too, or at least a lot of them. There might be a couple.
So are you retired military?
Not retired, but I was in the military back in the 80s.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is he tried to. The first time they tried, well, not really the first time, but Georgia, when they did the Georgia invasion for no known reason, I think that was an international response test to see how people would react. They used, I think they used something to do with the gas fields or the oil fields as their reasoning for it. But I think that was a response test, and I think that's what he's doing here too. He's seeing what the response is, and then he can kind of formulate where he wants to go from there. And
everything that's going on right now is a response test. Iran is a response test.
Yep.
Korea is a response test, and we're not responding.
But no, we're responding in a way, but the grade is F minus because Obama is just an appeaser. He has no clue what he's doing there. He has no. His responses are not to stand up for the U.S., not to stand up for Israel. His responses are to try and appease everybody in the countries that we should not be appeasing.
Yeah, well, but he's been doing that since he's been in the office. Well,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys give me your feedback. Like I said, I promised Clint tonight that I wouldn't do too much of my part live because he gets jealous that he's not here. The good part is if he calls and he yells at me, I can hang up on him. But I have a couple of our really good old clips that I want to get to, but I'm going to keep this question open. Do you guys want me to keep you hanging on?
I'll be in the chat room. I'll be listening.
All right. Tami, thank you so much for calling.
Oh, you bet. It's great to be on.
I'm going to put you in the screening room. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So thank you to Rooster from ConservativeOutcry.net and Tami J at Tami J Twitter. She's everywhere. She's a juggernaut. We love her. We love our interactions with her. She's on the 405radio.com on Tuesday nights. My question again to everybody in between clips is, what is Russia's end game with the incursion on the airspace in Guam, with the Russian sub that was in the Gulf of Mexico for 30 days in July, as well as the two airspace incursions in California and California and Alaska? Give us a call. Let us know your opinion, 347-205-9399. I am in here all by myself. It is the Sack Head radio show. Unfortunately, the brains of the operation is not here, and Clint's not here either. But he will be back next week. I'm hoping he sneaks a phone call in. He's stuck with a travel issue in the Midwest. If you're stuck out there, see if you can find him and tell him to get on the phone. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to play the next clip from one of our historical shows. And by historical, I mean, well, old.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Shaun and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, this is Sack Head Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Hey guys, it's Shaun from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at ConservativeOutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. ConservativeOutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on ConservativeOutcry.net.
Hey guys, it's Shaun from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to homefronthugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey, this is Sack Head Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women in uniform of the armed forces. Hey, this is Sack Head Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women. Hey, this is Sack Head Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our... God.
You going to mention me this time?
Thank you, Shaun. You said mention you, right?
Oh.
You totally need to keep that as an outtake.
Now back to Clint and Shaun on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
So we are back. It is the Clip Show. I am Sack Head Shaun. I'm playing clips, but I did ask a question at the top of the show that I'm going to allow answers if people want to call in, 347-205-9399. With the Russians doing a couple of these airspace incursions, most recently over Guam, and then there was California and Alaska, and then the sub in the Gulf of Mexico, we talked about it last week. What is Putin's end game? What's he trying to do with this? Is it just random flights that all of a sudden happen to be crossing into American airspace? Is he trying to poke the bear? Feel free to call in and let me know your opinion. I did want to make a correction, and a friend of ours in the chat room, Obama2016, who joins us every week, and we appreciate it, did correct me that the Korean airline was over Soviet airspace. At the time, it was Soviet airspace. Now it would be Russian airspace. When it was shot down, and 269 passengers were killed, and it was shot down by a Soviet interceptor over the Sea of Japan near the Monaran Island. So I apologize that I was slightly off on that, or not even slightly off. My geography was way off, and I'll be happy to admit to that. So moving on, our next clip. And we had a candidate on from the 27th District in Florida who's running against Karen Harrington, and who we had on the show, who is a great guest. We also, a couple other people that were on the show. I thought he was a nice guy. I didn't agree with everything he said. It was one of the first interviews we had. His name was Juan Alil Garcia. They were in the Republican primary to go up against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So we had the interview, which I won't play because it's too long. But Clint's reaction to the interview, and if you listen to the show, you know Clint has a tendency to get a little heated from time to time when things are distorted or he doesn't necessarily see the reasoning behind it. So here's Clint's reaction to the Juan Alil Garcia interview, and this brings us back as far as, I want to say August, so this wasn't that long ago. August.
Phone number 347-205-9399 if you want to call and talk about the interview.
I want to talk about the interview.
I knew you would want to.
You know what? I think there is a reason why I wasn't here today, and I think that perhaps was a good thing. I have some issues with some things that he said. Where do I start? I at one point I just had to stop listening, but I'm kidding. Here's the thing.
I knew there would be some things that you would take.
Really? I'm not going to go there. Look, I'm sorry. I'm just reading the chat room. I wish I could say so much, but so okay. His brightest moment in American history was when Ronald Reagan was elected.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll agree that was a great moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to respectfully disagree that was our nation's greatest moment.
Well,
I'm going to play a couple. I don't know. Maybe bringing about the end of World War II was a great moment.
Absolutely.
Maybe when we won the War of Independence from Great Britain was
kind of a big deal.
A big deal. Maybe when we framed in the Constitution, we put everything in place to start the gradual decrease and put the framework in place for abolition of slavery. I don't know. Maybe that was a good thing.
Well,
maybe no. Hang on, I got more.
Okay.
Maybe it was a good thing in our country when the Declaration of Independence was written. Maybe it was. I mean, come on, really, Ronald Reagan. Yes, it was a good time in recent history, but the greatest moment in American history. Okay, what else? His darkest. Really, the darkest moment in American history was the election of Obama in 2008. No. You had your hour-long interview with him. This is my turn. Okay, maybe 9/11 comes to mind as perhaps one of the darkest days. The Civil War, that seemed to be pretty dark. That wasn't like a happy time in our nation.
It could have been how I phrased the question.
Pearl Harbor. It's a pretty straightforward question.
Well, and
I mean, come on. He used political talking points, and this is the kind of stuff that, and that's why I like our interview formats where we ask personal questions, where we want to talk about, get to know the candidates, what kind of person they are. Are they principled leaders or not? Or are they just going to give us these talking points? And these are clearly talking points. Ronald Reagan, he's clearly just trying to get the conservative base, which I understand as a politician. But you know what? If you come on the show, we want to know who you are. We understand your talking points. We can read a commercial. Don't insult us by coming on and now just giving regular talking points. I'm sorry, but the people want to know who these people are. Who are we electing? Because the problem is we've been electing politicians for too long. The problem is we have people in there that don't really want to serve. They don't understand our foundations of where we come from and so forth. The darkest moment in American history, you come up with the election of Obama? Are you kidding me?
Well,
I mean,
I don't know if he thought I meant political history versus the history.
That's a pretty straightforward question. It's pretty open-ended.
But
if his focus is strictly political, then that's the problem. I think that in my humble opinion, and you were the interviewer, I wasn't present, so I'm commenting on this as a spectator, as a listener, as a prospective voter, if I were in that district, and I can do that. So that's the perspective I'm coming from right now. He talks about how he respects the Constitution. You got into the 17th Amendment, and I don't think that he knew what the 17th Amendment was about, first of all, at a point, and it's clear that he had somebody either cueing him in or something because, he said something at one point about an example, a name that would come to his head in a moment, which he probably had somebody researching, which is fine. But he talks about restricting the Constitution, and then
You're hypothesizing.
What's that?
You're hypothesizing because I've used that phrase too.
I am hypothesizing. Look,
we didn't agree with a lot of what he said.
And you were the interviewer, so you can you should maintain your role as unbiased right now.
Absolutely.
I am a listener.
I was asking for information. That was the information he was giving.
You were, and I am commenting on that information because we are an opinion show. My turn. So, look, I told you I'm punch drunk right now.
I'm just going to turn my mic off and go home.
Perfect. he talked about how the balance was offset by the 17th Amendment, blah, 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 whatever, and he gives this example about Blagojevich, and he talks about how we need to stick to the principles outlined by our founders in the Constitution because the Constitution is the right way to do things, yet the 17th Amendment overturned what was supposed to be one of the great pillars of our government, which is the state representation in Congress. We talked about this a couple of shows ago. The senators were elected by the state legislatures to represent state interests. Therefore, you had the House of Representatives that represented the interest of the people. You had the Senate, who was supposed to represent the states, who were supposed to be sovereign or part of a collective republic, but sovereign in and of themselves, which is why there was the 10th Amendment to protect states' rights, and then the president for the federal government. So when the 17th Amendment was offset, and he kind of touched on it a little bit, where he talked about Blagojevich, even though he didn't know his name, I don't know, it was all over the news, or the state that it was from, yet he talked about Obama. Anyways, I digress. So he talks about this, there's and he kind of touched on it without really coming out and saying it, about the whole corruption issue, which is the premise that the 17th Amendment was passed under, the corruption issue. Well, we need to give it to the people because politicians are corrupt. That's the point.
Right.
That's the point. Politicians are corrupt. Why? Because people fell asleep. Yep. It's our fault that politicians are corrupt. So by turning it over to the people, you're not solving the problem. The people are still asleep. We need to start electing principled leaders, people who understand what they are there to do. And if we do that, we're going to get people in the state legislatures who are not going to be corrupt, and we're going to get senators who are going to actually represent the states. He doesn't get it, in my humble opinion. Maybe he does. He talked about, again, the Second Amendment, yet he talks about respecting the Constitution. I'll come back to that statement that he said, and then clear guidelines for what weapons people can possess. People are owning guns who are not qualified to own a weapon, or talked about being qualified to own a weapon. You know what? Being a citizen of this country qualifies me to own a weapon. Unless I'm a felon or something like that.
And I think that's what he was getting at.
Okay, so what's my qualification for being able to speak my mind?
No.
Do I need to be qualified to be able to exercise my First Amendment right to speak my mind?
No.
Do I need to be qualified in order to exercise my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, which I really don't want to do right now?
No, I was going to say that's not being enacted right now.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I think what he was saying with that, and the impression I got during the interview, is that he meant felons as far as being qualified legally.
You know what? That's not what he said, and the reason I didn't take it that way is because then he follows up with 6,000 rounds of ammunition. Why? What's the reason for that? You know what?
Well,
I don't have to have a reason for that. How's about I want to own 6,000 rounds because I want to own 6,000 rounds? Maybe I like to shoot a lot. Maybe I have a lot of different weapons that I like to shoot, and I want to be able to shoot at different ranges, my different weapons. Maybe I enjoy shooting. Maybe I enjoy shooting targets. Maybe I enjoy having my kids shoot. It doesn't matter why I have 6,000 records, and guess what? As a representative of Congress, it's none of your business why I want to have 6,000 rounds of ammunition. And so you take that statement along with his other statements of guidelines for owning weapons and people qualified to own weapons, and I think it speaks volume. My opinion is he's a progressive. That's what I got out of this interview. I'm angry now. I need to get up and go outside for some air.
No, we just sat for an hour and did nothing.
What are you talking about? Our blog was on fire.
Yeah, no, our chat room was on fire.
Which is awesome. I didn't realize you could blog from 25,000 feet.
Well, like I said, my job there was to ask questions and get answers.
It was, and we have
your opinion. When I asked you, when we were listening, and I said, hey, when we come back, I want to ask you about the interview, I kind of meant, how did I do?
Oh, no, I know exactly what you meant, but I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. Look, you did a good job, and we've had these questions.
I wasn't looking.
Liar. We said you're like a wife. So I just need reinforcement right now. Yeah. Do you need some reassurance? Look, Shaun. Look, you did a great job. I'm sorry I couldn't be here for you, and.
No, and I did take exception to the Second Amendment thing.
This is an opinion show.
And I interjected my opinion on that.
You did. And look, and again, I wasn't here for the interview, so I'm commenting on this as a commentator. I want to make that clear. You and I came up with these interview questions. I think we have a great interview format. I think we have a solid foundation of questions that we ask that actually gets to the heart of a lot of these issues. And these types of issues come out. And I think because of our interview format, and yeah, I'm absolutely patting us on the back right now, I think that because of our interview format, we're able to get to the heart of the matter and get people's real opinion on things.
Well, and that's why we do it. And they say we collaborated on these questions and how we kind of format things, and I like the way we do it. I think it's different. I think it definitely gets the information that we're looking for when we do an interview. And
I think it gets the information that people are looking for, and it gives people a little more insight into their candidate as opposed to just, what do you feel about blah, blah, blah. Who cares?
Well, and we could do the
what kind of person are you?
Points all the way around. And one of the things I think we try to keep with is getting everyone the same ability to get out their answers, and you hear who they are versus their political talking.
I have a new question I want to add to our interview.
Okay.
Are you a dirtbag? I think that's a great question.
You know what would be awesome? The first time we asked someone that, and they're like, yeah, why?
But you know what? They're honest. I respect that. I would respect that.
I have a follow-up question from that. Do you feel my hubcaps?
Yeah.
What would you say to a guy that would say yeah to that question?
Yeah, okay. In what way are you a dirtbag?
Right. No, I agree.
No, I was asking you.
Me?
Yeah.
Did you have a piece of that pizza earlier?
Actually, I did.
You'll find out tomorrow. The phone number.
Hey, how was that bag of chips?
205-9399. Well, I appreciate your feedback. Like I said, I thought he was sincere. I didn't agree with everything he said, but it's not my job.
No, I think he was sincere also, but I was simply commenting on. I wasn't talking about his sincerity. What I was commenting on is some of the things that I find troublesome, and the fact that he said a lot of the same things over and over again, which I have a problem with as a candidate. Get to the heart of the issues. Don't just sit there and give me your talking points. We're asking very specific questions, and they're questions that are not yes, no. They're open-ended. And if you're just going to sit there and spout your same talking points over and over again, that's things we can get from a website. What else can we learn about you?
No, I agree with you. So anyone wants to call and ask about that, we'll take some questions in a little bit, but we are going to move on. That was Clint's response to the interview with Guadalupe Garcia. He took some exception to Mr. Garcia's belief in the Second Amendment and weapons all around. And if you listen to the show regularly, you know Clint takes the Constitution very serious, and he sticks by it as much as possible. And he is amazing at articulating why and how the government has to maintain their bounds in our personal lives and what the Constitution gives to us as Americans and what rights it gives to us, or let me rephrase that, what rights that we have, our natural rights, our God-given rights that is spelled out in the Constitution and guaranteed that they won't be taken away. And even though Mr. Garcia was a conservative candidate, as we've seen time and again with conservatives, they're not all to the right and they're not all gun clingers and all that stuff. So he really had a hard time, and I can remember after we went into a break and we took he went back for the entire time we were at the break and complained about his issues with Mr. Garcia. It gave me a kick. For me, that was kind of fun because that was the first time I ever really interviewed somebody, and I did it for the show for the first time. I was nervous. You could hear it in my voice. I stammered and stuttered a lot, which I still do because I'm not really getting any better at this. But for us, that was a big deal because that was the second big candidate that we had on. It may not be big to a lot of other people, but to get congressional candidates and considering they were running for the spot to contend against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the head of the DNC, and the 22nd District in Florida, the sitting congresswoman, that was kind of a big deal. So we had a lot of fun with that. And our question for the night was, with the airspace violations by Russia, there's 3 of them now in the last year or so, 2 back in August or July, and then most recently the same day of the State of the Union, over Guam, which is still in American airspace, and then the sub sitting in the Gulf of Mexico for 30 days. Is Russia trying to pull something? Is the Russian government trying to get test a response? We've had a couple of responses already from our listeners, and I should say co-hosts for the night, if you will, or friends of ours. Tami J on Twitter and Right Voice Media and a whole 405 Radio chimed in. Also, Rooster from Conservative Outcry. You can have your chance to chime in, 347-205-9399, or if you want to discuss the clips and how awful they are, and by awful I mean awesome, you certainly do that at the same phone number. The chat room is open, and one of the if you want to get into the chat room right now, there's a bunch of conversation going on about the question. And my response is to somebody in the chat room is, if they're not trying to create a conflict or a problem with us or trying to test a response, what are they doing? They're not just showing up at the same time, the Russian military, and just kind of timing things weird, especially the July and August incursions. So what is their end game? What are they trying to get at? You have to tell me because I don't know then. Just for me, it seems weird that President Putin, born and raised in the communist system, former KGB agent, is all of a sudden now stepping up with all these weird things. So I'm convinced that something's going on. They're testing our response. I'm not saying they're going to attack us or anything like that, but where are they trying to go with it? You let me know. So we will be back next week. The show's going to continue. I still have more clips to get to, but we'll be back next Friday night. Clint will be here. Soko will be here. We're going to do a regular show. You won't have to listen to me ramble and stammer and try to stutter through a conversation. And we will have our regular format. We'll talk about all the week's news and topics and everything that happened and get your input on it. And, you know, maybe we'll take calls, maybe we won't, but that's what we do here at Sack Heads Radio. Our new website is up, and we're still building on it, but our major format is done. It's sackheadsradio.com. Sackhead Soko worked really hard at it, and by really hard, I have no idea what the hell he did because I don't know how websites go, but he said he worked hard. I'll kind of believe him because he's never really lied to me before. And he also, our new theme song, if you like that, let me know. That's also done by Soko, but he kind of does a lot of the show for us. But we let him stick around anyhow because, well, frankly, he's good fodder for us. So I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do the news, our news gal, if you will. Vanessa's going to be calling in and or chiming in, rather, and giving us the news for the week, and then we'll get back into more clips. We'll be back in a minute with the Sack Heads Radio Show.
Hey guys, it's Shaun from Sack Heads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sack Heads Radio sent you.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Shaun and Clint here at Sack Heads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey, this is Sack Head Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sack Head Clint saying have a good day.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Hey guys, do you like our news briefs? Better yet, do you like the amazing voice that does our news briefs? Do you need some audio work done? Check out PlatinumVocalCords.com. Our friend Vanessa has years of broadcast experience. She's an absolute professional. She'll work with you, get the sound exactly how you'd want it. So go to PlatinumVocalCords.com. Tell them Sack Heads Radio sent you. Hey guys, it's Shaun from Sack Heads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at ConservativeOutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. ConservativeOutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on ConservativeOutcry.net.
This is Sal from New York. Please listen to Sack Heads Radio.
Now back to Clint and Shaun on Sack Heads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
So, well, it's just Shaun. Clint's not here this evening. He will be back next Friday night. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us tonight. Thanks for joining in. Those of you guys who are going at it in the chat room, love to see it. Love to see the conversation, even if I don't always agree. Thank you for joining us. If you're not in the chat room, go to blogtalkradio.com/SackheadsRadioShow and jump in. Having a fun discussion at this point, it looks like, as to what would happen if you were in the bomb shelter and the big one went off. And I think people are discussing how they would spend their time. I said I would spend the time shoveling out if I had all that opportunity. So my question for the evening, just to do a different format, was what's Russia doing? Testing our response? Are they trying to create an international conflict? What's their end game? Is Putin trying to push back towards communism so he can control his people? If so, is he going to try to go with the China version of communism, where it's kind of everyone can make money, but as long as the government gets a majority of it, they're fine. They'll just squash information and won't allow anyone to have personal freedoms, but the money keeps rolling in. That makes them happy, and then, they can also buy up all of our debt, and we'll let it happen because we're insane. A lot to talk about this week, unfortunately. Like I said, Clint couldn't be here. We wanted to talk about the whole sequester thing and a bunch of other things, but we will be back next week to do the regular show. Calling in just a few minutes will be our news gal, if you will, Vanessa, to give us the news. Check out, Rooster had a really good article this week. He's been gone for a little while, but go to conservativeoutcry.net. Check out our friend Rooster. Read his article. I can't explain it to you. He tried to explain it at the beginning of the show. It does it no justice. You have to read it front to back. And it kind of does. If you know Rooster, you know why he goes certain ways that he goes. And as time goes on, he still throws a curveball at me every time I think I have him figured out. I don't. So up next, I have a couple different clips to choose from, and I couldn't decide which one I wanted to do because they're both really good ones. Back in, let's see, I have it written down because I'm really good. We discussed the letters of marque, and this is going to be back in April. And I'm trying to decide which one should go first. Letters of marque. I'm going to go with the Biden bashing we did. So we talked about Biden's top 10, and this was probably, I think it was last May. No, it had to be in the election of September. September. And I'm going to play the first clip of us discussing Biden himself, and then a phone call that we got that was just great, and we really enjoyed that as well. So here is the clip from the show. What? Wait, MLK was a Republican? What? Back in September 2012.
I'm going to talk about now Uncle Joe.
Let's do his top 10.
Let's
do his top 10.
Once again, I found these on the Daily Caller, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of them.
Oh yeah, no, we're going through all of them because these are great.
You pick your first one that you want to go with, and I'll let you go.
I'm going to go. Ready? Okay. My first one again from the Daily Caller. I guess what I'm trying to say without boring you too long at breakfast. And y'all look dull as hell, I might add. Biden said to a group of donors in April this year, the dullest audience I've ever spoken to, just sitting there staring at me. Pretend you like me.
That is Uncle Joe.
That's great.
This is the vice president of the United States.
You know what? I would vote for this guy just because that is hilarious. I want somebody who would, you know what? I don't even want him to have a press secretary. No, I want him to go in front of the media and ask questions and just be like, you look dull as hell. Give me a scotch.
And one of his biggest gaffes was just after healthcare was passed in 2010 when he was he introduced the president. As he's walking away, he could be overheard saying, "This is a big effing deal," which that alone killed me because I'm like, here's the thing he's been pushing for, right, wrong, or indifferent, for 2 years. And you're going to drop the F-bomb at the middle of his biggest moment to date in his mind.
I want to watch football and drink beer with him.
I do. He's one of those guys.
Seriously.
I want to bring him to Disney World drunk. See how soon do we get kicked out.
That's the Matterhorn. You'll be fine.
Oh, my gosh. So it kills me. So in 2008, he was on a campaign stop in Ohio. And he was talking about McCain's economic plan. He said, look, John's last-minute economic plan does nothing to tackle the number one job facing the middle class. And that happens to be, as Barack says, a 3-letter word, jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs. This guy is awesome. Another great quote from 2000. This is just in April 2012. He was trying to reference the Teddy Roosevelt quote, speak softly and carry a big stick, you'll go far. And he just kept saying, I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you.
Okay.
He doesn't think, he just blabs, and I love that about him.
Okay, what about this one? You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
That was in 2006. And he said that to an Indian American man.
Right.
That was supposed to be a private remark.
But it was caught on camera at C-SPAN. Yeah. How about this one? I mean, you got the first mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
That was
really
07. In 08,
he was telling a state senator to stand up, and he quotes, "Stand up, Chuck. Let them all see you." Now, that may sound a little dumb. It's even worse because it was Ohio Senator Chuck Graham who was confined to a wheelchair. So this is the vice president. Now,
so wait a second. So the vice president was poking fun at a disabled person?
No, I just don't think he had...
No. Hang on. Let's go with this.
He had
Was he poking fun at a disabled person? Because this could be a whole new segment of the American population that should not vote for the Obama-Biden ticket. Because clearly he hates handicapped individuals.
No, I just think he's...
This quote proves it. Look
at...
We're going to operate like the left right now. This proves...
We're taking a page out of the left playbook right here.
Yeah, Rules for Radicals. This one quote proves that Obama-Biden team does not like handicapped Americans.
I will not allow you to do this.
Yeah, well, hang on a second.
Nope.
Okay, prove me wrong.
I will prove you wrong.
Go ahead.
Have you heard Joe Biden talk?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
And I heard him say,
do you agree
stand up, clearly mocking,
to think before the words come out of his mouth? He's worse than me.
You know what? That makes it worse because now it's subconscious. Now he's clearly trying to mock this man in his subconscious, and he didn't think, and so he voiced it. That's despicable.
I'm going to move on. So
.org. See? We're taking this. We're going to run this. We just became a left-wing radio show.
Don't say that. Look, the
it's
chat room
official.
Oh, my goodness. So back in, I think it was like May.
Come on, liberals, back me up.
Joe's talking about, Uncle Joe, Slackjaw Joe is talking about his parents having high hopes for their son. And he said, my mother believed and my father believed that if I wanted to, I could be president of the United States. I could be. I could be vice president. What? It's almost... I often, have you ever met a town drunk?
Yeah, Joe Biden.
He's not a bad guy.
From Andy Griffith, Otis.
Yeah, he's like Otis, where he's not hurtful per se, but he just says...
What do you mean he's not hurtful? He hates handicapped people.
We are moving on, folks. So
I'm going to resurrect that 3 weeks from now, so you know.
So this leads us up to this week. And this week, Joe was talking, and he was talking at a Democrat event, and he's talking about Romney and Ryan ticket and what they want to do with the big banks, and just listen to his statement. Mind you, and the left has already tried to come out.
No, just play it.
Okay.
Just play it.
Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
So that's that's our vice president.
And who was he speaking to?
It was a Democratic thing. A large amount of the folks in attendance that day were African American. So
now hang on a second. So he's basically insinuating that the Republican Party wants to put African Americans back in chains. A slavery reference. Now, am I hypersensitive in believing, because you won't let me say he hates handicapped people, are you telling me that is not a slavery reference?
I can't say no.
So it is clearly a slavery reference. Wants to put y'all back in chains, and he does it with that little BS drawl that he had going on.
Right, he's from Pennsylvania, by the way.
Right, yeah, so he clearly has a southern drawl. Saying that the Republicans want to put African Americans back in chains. So let's have a history lesson.
Well, Romney was
no. Hang on.
Ago, so
he was just what?
He was just killing somebody 2 weeks ago.
Right, and now he wants to enslave African Americans again. So let's look at this. How did the Republican Party form? Does everybody forget history?
Yes.
Did you know Dr. Martin Luther King was a Republican?
Wait, what?
Look,
that's impossible.
Hang on. The Republican Party came about as a result of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Okay, settlers it said settlers would decide if their state would be free or slave. And in 1854, the Democratic Party was opposed to this. They wanted more slaveholding states. Obviously, they wanted more pro-slavery representatives elected and so forth. and wouldn't stand on this. The Republican Party was initially formed to. Are you out of coffee?
Sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. Here, pour some of this in there. This is.
No, I'm good. Go.
No, just pour some of this in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Republican Party was formed as an anti-slavery party. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican.
You remember him, folks?
I don't know if they knew him personally. I'm just saying. Let me read you the Republican.
Kind of a big effing deal.
He was kind of a big effing deal. The Republican Party platform of 1856. Let me read you something. Resolved that with our Republican fathers, we hold it to be a self-evident truth that all men are endowed with the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that the primary object and ulterior design of our federal government were to secure these rights to all persons under its exclusive jurisdiction, that as our Republican fathers, when they had abolished slavery in all our national territory, ordained that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, it becomes our duty to maintain this provision of the Constitution against all attempts to violate it for the purpose of establishing slavery in the territories of the United States by positive legislation, prohibiting its existence or extension therein, that we deny the authority of Congress of a territorial legislation of any individual or association of individuals to give legal existence to slavery in any territory of the United States while the present Constitution shall be maintained.
Translation.
That's the Republican platform of 1856.
Can you break that down into intelligent conversation for me?
Sorry.
Do the exact opposite of intelligent. Break that down into moron talk.
Okay.
For me.
The Republicans didn't like slavery.
What?
And they felt that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence clearly suggested all men, including slaves. Slaves were not property. They were individuals. And that, as such, the rule of law applied to them. So the Republican Party is formed. We end up fighting a civil war. You had Southern Democratic representatives Preston Brooks and Lawrence Keat out of South Carolina. Charles Sumner was a representative who gives a speech, I believe it was 1856, just a scathing anti-slavery speech. And Preston Brooks and Lawrence Keat, again, these are Senate representatives of the Democratic Party, beat him with a cane and leave him lying on the floor motionless. And one of them is quoted as saying, "I should have killed him," or something to that effect, or "next time I'll have to kill him," as he walked off the Senate floor. That was Brooks that
Isn't
said that.
Isn't that the party of peace and loving and understanding?
Oh, yeah, but progressives will say today, oh, no, the parties are totally different now. No, because let's fast forward to the Civil Rights Movement. Everybody is familiar, or most people, I believe, are familiar with Brown v. Board of Education.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Supreme Court ruling that declared that state laws which established separate public schools for black and white students said that those laws were unconstitutional.
Right.
Okay, it basically overturned Plessy v. Ferguson, which was a decision in 1896, which allowed state-sponsored segregation under the guise of, hey, separate but equal, right? If it's equal, if they're separate, you maintain separate facilities and whatnot. So Brown v. Board of Education overturned that and basically said, no, state laws that separate public schools for those students is unconstitutional. Now, you had some members of Congress write a manifesto, and it was called the Southern Manifesto, and it was in direct response to the Supreme Court ruling basically abolishing segregation. And they claimed that the Supreme Court overreached its authority, that it was an unwarranted exercise of power by the court, contrary to the Constitution, creating chaos and confusion in the states that it affected, destroying the amicable relations, and this is a quote, between the white and Negro races that have been created through 90 years of patient effort by the good people of both races. Okay, so I'm going to read you the people who signed this Southern Manifesto, which blasted the Supreme Court for striking down the segregation laws. And this was way, way, way back on March 12th of 1956. So this is ancient history, 1956. Okay.
So Clint went on and he read, and I think almost all of them were Democrats. There was a few Republicans that were thrown in there too, to prove his point. And as the conversation went on, all of his facts were pulled from actual documentation. None of it was opinionated. And he cited each fact or each source for the facts that he got and why he used it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we went on and on. We talked about it for a little bit. And then we got a phone call from a gentleman named Willie. Willie was an interesting cat who we couldn't tell if he was listening or he wasn't listening or if he made it up as he went. I tried to kind of help him along at the beginning, and then at some point there was just no hope for him. So here is Willie's call.
Sack Heads Radio. We have we do have a caller who wants to chime in on the last subject, so I'm going to bring him on the air. Hey, Willie, you on the air? Go ahead, sir.
How you making out? How's everything?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I was just listening to some of the things that you were saying as far as the left wants to start race baiting and the health care. Did you say the health care was wrong, or did you? I didn't quite hear what you said about health care.
We mentioned it a couple times. I don't know which specific one you're talking about. I think we used the health care, the march when they marched out and.
Correct.
Yeah, we talked about health care when Nancy Pelosi tried to recreate the civil rights march with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. After they won the victory for health care. And then we talked about it as Shaun made a joke about nobody can require us to purchase anything, and so of course I chipped in with the individual mandate healthcare reference.
Okay, I just want to be clear on some things. Are you saying that healthcare is wrong? Or are you saying that universal healthcare is wrong?
I'm saying I will go on record as saying Obamacare is wrong, just as it's written now.
I believe the individual mandate is unconstitutional. It's clearly not a tax. It was written in as a penalty, which makes it unconstitutional. And okay. I disagree. I don't think the federal government has a role to manage the health care system. If anything, I think it could be argued as a states' rights issue like they did in Massachusetts, where they made it a state mandate. Because I believe the 10th Amendment covers that if an individual state wants to implement that. Even though I may disagree with that state's implementation of it, I don't believe a state's implementation of that to be illegal. On the federal level, it's a clear violation of the Constitution.
Okay, so you feel as though the Supreme Court got it wrong. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do. I believe the Supreme.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
I believe the Supreme Court they did not define what a tax is accurately. The government, in their own words, and we have them on record calling it a penalty, and then when they argued it in front of the Supreme Court, they said, well, if you don't think it's a penalty, then maybe you can look at it from the standpoint of a tax. And that's how the Supreme Court ruled. They ruled it's a tax. The Supreme Court ruled on it. That's the law of the land now, so I'll accept it. However, if you look at what a tax is versus what a penalty is, it doesn't meet the definition of a tax. But that's neither here nor there. The Supreme Court ruled on it, and that's the law of the land.
Yeah, and I had the clip on our board forever, and I just took it down this week. But it was
we played it on one of our last shows.
Solicitor General who argued that in front of the Supreme Court. He was very specific in saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me ask a specific question. Do you feel as though universal health care is wrong? Or do you just feel as though the way they have it set up is wrong?
Define wrong, because I don't know how you mean that. Do you mean, do I think it's morally wrong? Do I think it's legally wrong?
Morally wrong. Do you think it's morally wrong? Or put it this way. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
I think that, look, I think the best intention is there. I really believe that universal health care was passed with the intention of helping people. I don't question anybody's motives on that. What I believe is that the aggregate result of this healthcare system has the potential of collapsing the American economy. I mean, you look at healthcare and the percentage of the economy that it is, that it's unsustainable in that way. And you look at where other countries have tried it, and it's unsustainable the way it's set up. So do I think it's morally wrong? Absolutely not. Do I think it's legally wrong from a constitutional standpoint, the way our government is set up? Yes, I do on a national level. On a state level, I believe that it can still be legal. I may or may not agree with it as a matter of policy, but I think it's legal. So I think it's legally wrong on a federal level. I think it can be legally acceptable on a state level, and I think it's morally not wrong because the motivation is there to help people. Does that make sense?
A little bit. The only thing that I don't understand is if something is great for one particular state, why can it not be great for all of the states? That's where you begin to lose me at.
Because it's a question of legality. The United States Constitution has very specific rules for what the federal government can and cannot do.
Before you get that far, if it's good for a state, why is it not good for all of the states? Before you get all bogged down into so much of the technical things, because you can argue technicalities till the sun comes up.
That's not technicalities. That's the law of our land. I mean, that's a very.
Wait a minute.
No, you wait a minute. It's a very important thing when you have the law of the land that dictates what your federal government can and cannot do. And the Constitution is clear in that. And what may work in one state may not work in another state. You can't have the problems of Texas apply to what happens in Oregon or what happens in New York. It doesn't work that way. So what may be okay for one state may not be okay for another state. And the states have the right to decide what is best for them. And so you talk about technicalities. The Constitution is not a technicality. That's the law of the land. And if you read the documents and what the founders wrote and how they set our government up, it's very clear. The Supreme Court ruled on it. So as of right now, it is legal.
Right.
They misunderstood.
They misunderstood the Constitution. Is that what you're about to say? They misunderstood the Constitution?
What I'm saying is what they did is they ruled incorrectly on what a tax is. They ruled what a penalty is, which is what the government said in their own case, and they interpreted that to be a tax. I disagree with that interpretation of what it is because they did find the individual mandate unconstitutional under the Commerce Clause, which is what the government was originally arguing their case on. But what they found it to be upheld as, the individual mandate, they found it to be upheld as a tax as opposed to a penalty, which is what the government originally argued. They threw the tax in as an aside if you listen to the oral arguments.
Okay, so what is the race baiting? I just want to know, what exactly is race baiting? Because I know sometimes we throw a lot of things out there and hopefully that they stick, but give me the definition of race baiting. I mean, exactly. That I can understand it.
Off the top of my head, I don't have the Webster's Dictionary, but it's essentially charging up a one racial group over another by topics and facts and getting them, and sometimes misleading topics and facts that cause a whole base of people, in this particular case, racially motivated sometimes, to become upset at another group as a whole.
Okay. I like this fact that you said upset. Now, what particular race are we talking about? Because it sounds like a lot of conjecture to me, and it sounds a lot of the way you feel about it seems to be your opinion, and you're putting it out. I don't believe anything that was said.
Did you listen to any of Clint's history on the Republicans, the African American community, and the Democrats, dating back to Lincoln and beyond?
Did I listen to who?
Were you listening to that? Clint did about a whole 20-minute speech, and he gave a history on the Republicans, Democrats, and all the way back to African American slaves, and then as late as the Civil Rights Movement. So, did you pick up any of that in the show? Were you on then?
No, I wasn't on then, but I'll say this: what he said was, did he say anything that was factual, or did he say anything?
Yeah, he said everything that was absolutely factual. He quoted lists of facts as far as Democrat senators voting to maintain certain levels of slavery, and the Republicans who pushed to end it based on the Constitution.
You know what? You might be interested to download the show and read it later. I quoted, as a matter of fact, I read directly from an article that was written by Alveda King, who's the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who wrote A Covenant with Life, Reclaiming MLK's Legacy. I read from that and quoted her specifically. I quoted the Republican Party platform of 1856. I quoted legislation which was passed through Congress, and the Southern Democrats' push to overturn Brown v. the Board of Education, and how the Republicans have been a party. And if you look at history, and this is all historical fact, this isn't conjecture at all, how the Republican Party was formed in order to assist in the abolition of slavery and so forth. And you look
wait a minute.
No, because you don't have your facts right if you're going to say no. You know what? End this call. This guy is clearly just wants to dispute some stuff.
All right,
look at if you want to look at facts, I'll be more than happy to talk facts, especially on an issue like this. You look at the history of the Republican Party, and you look at. I just read you right from the congressional record the list and party affiliation of everybody who signed the Southern Manifesto that was done. This gentleman who called in, while I understand he has an opinion, I respect that opinion, and I certainly welcome open discussion. But if we're going to discuss facts and history, and you're going to try and cut me off and say no, I'm sorry, this is my show, and you got to go. So I highly encourage him to download. He clearly didn't listen to the first part of the program. I hope he does so, because hopefully he might find something to learn, or if he thinks that I am incorrect, perhaps he can do some research himself and dig up some facts and either show specifically where I'm incorrect, or maybe get some more education on the issue, because I think it's an important topic for everybody in our country.
Well, that went so well. We're going to take another caller right away.
Okay.
You're on the air with Sack Heads Radio.
So I wasn't allowed to take another caller that night, and only because the next caller had something that was way off topic, but Clint was getting going on a rant anyhow. We needed to take a break. That's one of the beautiful parts about I like working with Clint, is he always brings facts, even if people don't like them as much as they hoped. Everything he does and presents on the show, and when he goes on his presentations that he does just about every single week, he's always got a list of facts. He's always got a reasoning behind it. It's not just opinion. I'm kind of the fly-off-the-handle opinion guy a lot of times, and he's the fact-based kind of fact guy. So that's the show in a nutshell, really. So our last clip that I'm going to play, and this is from our show called Pistol Grip Pelosi back last May, really before any of the gun talk started again, before any of that stuff. Clint picked up on a story out of California. We say it a lot on the show. A lot of the more liberal laws that we get in this country are often test-bedded in California, especially when it comes to gun control. A lot of the quote-unquote federal gun control laws, a version of that was run in California. Massachusetts runs a few things, too, like that. New York does occasionally. But California just has this long history of testing the liberal agenda before it gets pushed on a federal level to see how it works. So this was from the show Pistol Grip Pelosi back in May 27th, 2012. And this was the first of the new type of legislation to get rid of assault rifles recently, before all of the before the Newtown attack and everything that's gone from there. So have a listen.
We didn't talk about anything in pre-production.
No, that's not true. Remember when I said, hold on, we're about ready to record?
Yes. Okay, we did. That's right.
You were like, wait, where's my cannon string?
Yeah. Okay, I remember. Yeah, we did talk about that.
So you have kind of a big story that will affect Second Amendment all across the country.
Potentially,
it could.
Because people,
it could.
You've heard the phrase, as California goes, so goes the country. And unfortunately, out of California, there is a new piece of legislation looming on the horizon. And I found this just kind of surfing because, Second Amendment is a big issue with me. And we could do several shows on the history of the right to keep and bear arms throughout history.
Yeah, but we're not going to, so let's go.
That's hurtful. I know you don't care about this issue because you're a Tommy gun grabber, but some of us that are actually patriots
really
care about this.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Look, I don't judge you for it. I applaud the fact that you stand up and you own it, and you're willing to have a discussion about it. The fact that I think you're an unreasonable communist, gun-grabbing pig, it has nothing to do with...
Oh, wait, hold on.
With this segment.
Your ride's here, so if you want to get ready to go. I don't know where you guys
Speaking
are
of
going.
gun-grabbing pig.
Apparently you guys are going to hang out with Soros or something. I don't know what that's all about.
What theme song was that? Anyway, that's... Listen, when I run for president...
2015.
1 year early.
You're
Can we do a recall election for the presidency?
You're that good that you could get elected in 2015.
That would be so awesome. I'd have at least 100 votes.
People they'd be running to vote early just for you.
They would.
Literally fives of people.
No. I'm thinking like ones of me and you.
I'm not voting.
And maybe just me.
I'm not voting.
Well, no, you would because you'd be my press secretary.
Well, then I'd vote. Oh, yeah, we covered that
we covered that last time.
So back to guns.
Okay. So California has a law on the books banning assault weapons. And
I'm not laughing at that.
Yes, assault weapons are basically guns that look scary.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
For example, if you have a rifle with a detachable magazine,
right,
and another modification such as a pistol grip stock, because that...
So does that mean Nancy Pelosi could be considered an assault rifle? Because she looks very scary.
She looks very scary. I don't know if she has a detachable magazine, and I'm pretty sure she has a pistol grip. But that's a whole other issue.
Anyhow,
let's call her Pistol Grip Nancy.
Pistol Grip Pelosi.
Pistol Grip Pelosi.
I love it. So,
and thus the name was born.
Dude, I'm gonna have to trend that.
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh god, that's awesome.
So,
and she's so left to have a nickname like Pistol Grip that would drive her batshit crazy.
Oh, that would be so odd. That's her nickname. Born here. She may have a bayonet lug also, but so that's another thing. So if a firearm in California has a detachable magazine and a bayonet lug, because bayonet lugs have killed lots of. I'm sure. We could do the research on it. I'm sure it was a major problem at some point.
I see the news. People getting bayoneted all the time.
Yeah, like with a bayonet attached to a rifle in the civilian. Yeah. I think there's been mass bayonettings on the civilian side. Can we search that right now? How many mass bayonettings have we had? Let's do nationwide because.
Can you divide by 0?
No, because you get some weird kind of thing.
Yeah, 0.
Yeah, but no, we can't have that because they made it illegal. So it has to. That wouldn't make sense.
They made it illegal because they saw what could have happened, and they know what's better for everybody.
Why don't we ban trees? No, seriously, let's follow the logic, because how many people die when their cars crash into trees?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Trees kill a lot of people.
And cars can't be the issue.
No.
It's trees.
Absolutely, because that's the mechanism.
I totally agree with you. That and private jets, and I'll tell you why.
Go.
In Florida today, I believe it was today or yesterday, a door fell off a private jet and landed in a grass fairway of a golf course. So, obviously, private jets are starting the war on the...
Now, wait a second. I'm going to say that it's the golf course. Because if that golf course wasn't there, nobody would have been in danger from that falling debris.
Oh, that's a good point. I still think that private jets specifically have it out for grass and trees and essentially our ecology.
You're an idiot. So
duly noted. Moving on.
We digress.
No, there's no reason to, really. I think you pretty much nailed it. Right on the head.
So you can't have a weapon with a detachable magazine and anything else because it looks really scary.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't make sense because the bayonet lug doesn't affect how the weapon functions or cycles or anything like that. It just looks mean, and so it's an assault weapon. Okay, whatever.
Well,
It's ignorance at its finest.
Right.
Well, what happened is...
It's like saying the scary person with the tattoo must be bad because they have tattoos.
Right.
Okay.
Wait a second. I have guns and tattoos. Is that...
Right. No, you're like Lucifer incarnate.
Wow. Let's go to California.
No, you would explode if you walked. Anyhow.
Yeah, California and churches.
Can't really blame either. Go on.
Kidding, folks. I'm kidding. Don't go and put a curse on me. Although if you're Christian, you probably don't believe in curses.
I was going to say, how many witch doctors are listening to the show?
How many times have we been downloaded in Zimbabwe? Let me tell you.
Actually, about 14.
Exactly. So one of them may be a witch doctor.
That is so cool, though.
It is kind of cool.
Anyhow, sorry.
So a bullet button was designed. And what a bullet button does is it makes a detachable magazine attach inside the weapon system like an AR platform. And you have to use the tip of a bullet or some other tool or device to be able to engage the mechanism and to drop the magazine.
So it essentially unlock and remove it.
Correct. It's not just a regular push of a button like you would have on a regular detachable magazine on a rifle that takes a magazine.
Okay.
And it has to be semi-automatic, not bolt action.
Right.
So, with that being said, CBS 5 did a news story on this bullet button phenomenon, and Senator, horrible. The bullet button phenomenon.
It's just ridiculous.
And Senator Yee, who's a California state senator out of, guess where from?
I'm going to throw
friend
it out
of.
there. Hold on.
Give you a hint. Pistol Grip Pelosi is also
San
from
Francisco.
You nailed it. High five to you.
I love Pistol Grip Pelosi.
So, Chairman Yee, or
tweeting it right
are
now
you? That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So Senator Yee sees the piece apparently and says, "Oh my gosh, we have to stop the madness," because
because it's absolutely insanity how evil that.
Well, hang on. Here's a direct quote, and here is what he says. He says, "Quote: It is extremely important that individuals in the state of California do not own assault weapons." Dumbass, by definition, it's not an assault weapon because it does not have a detachable magazine. It has a bullet button, a tool or device.
Let's follow his train of thought. It can only get stupider. I mean,
hang on.
You don't know.
I mean, that is just so crystal clear, he says, and again, this is quoting him, there is no debate, no discussion. Okay. So, I'm so glad.
First of all, this is such a leftist thing. There's no debate.
No discussion.
No discussion. You will just accept this as fact.
Right.
And we will not discuss any sort of other view.
Now, wait a second. I have to agree with him. There is no debate. There is no discussion. But on the other side of the spectrum, the Second Amendment protects the individual right to keep and bear arms. And let's follow the founders on this. And there is no debate. There is no discussion, as the fine state Senator Yee said.
See, I don't like the fact that you called him a fine.
No, but I said it was dripping with sarcasm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was oozing sarcasticness. So it's okay in that context. I think people, if you can afford an aircraft carrier with an F-18 and you can arm it, that should be perfectly legal, because what is the point of the Second Amendment? What is the point of keeping and bearing arms?
To protect the citizens.
From?
The government.
Yes. What is the point of the Bill of Rights? It protects the individual from the government.
All of our rights are supposed to be essentially protecting the individuals from the government.
So, and so how can you fight a government or an oppressive government if it becomes a tyrannical, not a Rex, but a government? and if you don't have it, then that's the extreme. Nobody's going to buy an aircraft. But under the original intent of the Second Amendment, that is exactly what should happen. And so there is no debate, there is no discussion.
Well, in communism, it's the exact opposite. They disarm everyone immediately. That's usually the first act.
Well, yeah, because...
Just saying. I'm not making accusations with this fine senator from Sacramento. See, that's how you bleed sarcasm. I'm just merely stating a point that through the years of history, that's been the number one way. Am I wrong?
Are you wrong on this one point? No.
Yeah, no, on this one point. I'm wrong on a million other things, but on this one point, I think I'm dead on.
Well, hang on. I have a quote here, and it's from somebody who, he might not have known the Constitution very well, or this person I'm going to quote.
Okay.
But what he says is, "No free man shall ever be debarred the use of arms."
Well, who is that?
Some crazy right-winger.
Who?
The left hates him.
Who?
The left absolutely hates this guy.
You're just leaving me in suspense.
Thomas Jefferson.
Whoa. Yeah, they're not a big fan of him.
No, they hate him.
Wait a minute.
That's what happens.
Did you say Thomas Jefferson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's what happens when you play fact. Anyway, so Mr. Yee wants to get rid of the bullet button because you can rapidly change magazines with the bullet button.
Okay, so what does he want to replace it with?
Well, yeah, he wants to make it's just illegal. Well, here, let's look at what the bullet button allows somebody to do. At a firing range or wherever, if you need to make that weapon safe, how do you make a weapon safe?
Well, you immediately remove all the ammunition and open the action.
Right. How do you remove the ammunition?
Depends on the weapon, but in this case, you would remove the magazine.
Whoa.
Wait a
whoa,
minute.
whoa. So, and that's pretty fast, right?
Well, yeah. Depending on how good you are, you could probably get it out in 2-3 seconds. For like an amateur just kind of swapping it
or
out.
For you in bed. But it's...
Well, you gave me an extra second.
Yeah.
Dude, we are just so potty much
I know.
tonight.
Explicit. Once again, real good.
Click.
So, you want to be able to make that weapon safe rapidly, and that is a valid reason for having this.
For people that don't go to the gun range or fire a weapon, there's often that you have to make a range safe.
Absolutely.
A weapon safe fast. If you're on the firing line, if you're at a range, and for whatever reason, either the range master has to step off the line or whatever, the first thing they do is blow a whistle, make the announcement, make your weapon safe, put them down.
Absolutely. You have to remove the ammunition from the weapon. And now here's another one. What if you're at home? What if you keep a loaded weapon in a safe, whatever it is, and you keep a loaded weapon for home protection, and you decide you want to make that weapon safe in your home? If you don't have a detachable magazine, if you have a magazine that is fixed in the gun, welded to it, whatever, or it doesn't have a plate that you can dump the ammunition out the bottom, you have to cycle that ammunition through the weapon. You have to cycle that ammunition through the action. Absolutely. So you're cycling live ammunition through the...
You're begging for a quote-unquote misfire at that point. You're begging for it.
Which...
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it can happen because people can cycle ammunition through their action, have their finger on the trigger, whatnot, and the round goes off. So the safest way to do is to dump that magazine. Another issue he has is, well, you're using a bullet or something to rapidly be able to detach that magazine and switch magazines or whatever it is. Okay, don't you want to be able to rapidly make that weapon safe? You have to use a tool. How many Mausers were designed to be able to be disassembled in the field or whatnot, or disassembled just with the use of a bullet? Or how many dump plates have been used where you can disassemble them with a bullet?
You're missing the point.
Au contraire.
Here's the next step.
Go ahead.
Here's the next step. You can't make that weapon safe fast. Yeah, so they probably shouldn't be. Is that where we're going? I'm guessing, just throwing it out there?
That's where we're going, but I think we're going more incremental than that. I think we're going to we ban these. And by the way, in the text of the law, I had to pull it up, and it's...
would you call this a nudge?
I would call this a nudge. Nice segue. But we're coming right back.
Okay.
So it is California Senate Bill SB 249. And I have the text of the law up, and I'm not going to read it all because it's lengthy to do on a show like this. But a couple things caught my eye with it. Number one is it makes even the conversion kit a, quote, public nuisance, and would also authorize a civil action.
A public nuisance?
Oh, yeah.
Do conversion kits just randomly, like...
Oh, they go around and slap each other on the ass and do all kinds of things. It's a complete nuisance. They spray paint stuff.
Conversion kits have loud parties at 3 o'clock
horrible.
in the morning.
Yeah, the barking dogs.
Nuisance.
Yeah.
This guy's a public friggin' nuisance. Jeez.
Hang on. My favorite part.
Pardon.
And it authorizes civil action, which is awesome. Hang on. It gets better. I'm quoting the bill.
Is he doing peyote before he comes up with the stuff? Like,
hang on. I have. You know what? I'm pretty sure.
Now I'm getting pissed.
Don't get pissed yet. Now get pissed after I read this part. This is a quote. This bill would authorize a person to arrange in advance to relinquish a conversion kit to a police or sheriff's office.
In lieu of?
Hang on. Well, there is no in lieu of.
Oh.
In lieu of selling it, in lieu of. So now, if you relinquish your conversion, let's say you have an AR platform weapon, and you take your bullet button conversion out of it, and you turn that into the police department. No compensation. Right. You don't get a chance.
Right, so
you don't get a chance to be grandfathered in. There's no provision in this law to be grandfathered in. So you have to.
Essentially, they're going to take whatever you purchase, your hard-earned
yes,
money,
your private property,
and say you must turn this
even
in,
though you had it and purchased it legally.
And we will give you absolutely zero compensation.
Correct. There is nothing for compensation for the individual in the law. Hang on, it gets better. But now you've taken that conversion kit out of your AR, so it's no longer converted to a bullet button. What do you have?
A weapon without a bullet.
You have an illegal assault weapon. And now you have an assault weapon that you possess after the date of the assault weapons law to register. So now what do you have to do with that assault weapon?
You have to turn it.
Right.
So it's literally a nudge of purest.
I would say it's a grab.
So, and it's funny because, like I said, that show was back in May 2012, before we really got into the whole heated gun debate that we're in now. But Clint saw that coming up through the California State Assembly, and he knew where it was going to go, and he was right. They're going to try to push it now. They have the supermajority here in California. They're going to try to jam it through. The question of the night started off, and I appreciate everyone in the chat talking about it and everyone who hung out with us late. And like I said, it is a clip show, so it is a little boring. We don't have the live back and forth that we normally have. But I have Evan on hold right now. I'm going to bring him in. Evan had a question. Evan, tell everyone what you told me in the screening room about you politically.
Yeah, am I on the air now?
Yep, go ahead. You're on the air, buddy.
I generally consider myself a socialist. I'm not particularly conservative or liberal, but I'm a gun owner. I oppose handgun rights, so I've kind of straddled the middle position. And what I'm most curious about is why conservatives specifically are such adamant defenders of the Second Amendment right, especially when it comes to assault rifles.
Well, I think overall, and we've said this on the show, the original intent of the Second Amendment was for the citizenry of the country to protect themselves against tyranny. And I'm not the only person to say this. Clint has said this, and if you haven't seen it, Penn and Teller's old show on I think it was Showtime. They did a great show on the Second Amendment on their show Bullshit. But one of the things they point out is the reason that the founders put that in there is because they just spent 2 years fighting against a tyrannical government, and they knew the time may come again where the people of this country may have to do it again. So, go ahead.
Which I find very interesting because I was listening to 88.3. I'm in Houston, Texas, and that was exactly what they were saying on the radio. That it literally said it's not about hunting, it's not about self-defense, it's about government tyranny. Which I've always been interesting because when it comes to handgun rights, which commit 97% of the murders in this country, 90% of the handgun deaths, 90% of the gun deaths in this country committed by murders, you know, the conservative defense is, well, we need those to protect against government tyranny, which in reality, you know what I mean, what's a handgun going to do against an Abram, you know, or an Abram A1 tank or a Bradley fighting vehicle? I mean, it's utterly useless. And so I can't understand why the defense of handgun rights. I mean, let me put it this way: as a liberal gun owner, I would support legalizing rocket-propelled grenades and AR-15s before I would legalize, a 44 mag or a 45 caliber pistol or a high-capacity, 9mm. I mean, those are what's used to commit most murders. They have no purpose in defending against tyranny or your government because they're utterly useless.
No,
well, they're utterly useless. I mean, any combat soldier will tell you if you rely on your 9mm and your 45 caliber weapon as your primary weapon, you're a dead man. I mean, that's just not a combat weapon. It's not going to be effective against a government troop. It's not going to be effective in any way. So why defend handgun rights?
Evan, I understand your point, but I don't know if you know, a lot of soldiers are issued secondary weapons. So if your primary weapon jams, you have a secondary weapon. You have a last line defense.
Right, and they'll tell you 95%.
I don't know
if you've got to rely on that secondary weapon, you're a dead man. I mean, I know special forces guys that will tell you, look, if you come down to that secondary weapon, you're already dead. I mean, that's like a 1 in 100 chance that that's going to get you out of a jam. I mean, for the most part, you rely on that rifle to protect you.
There's still that one, isn't there? There's still that 1 in 100 if you want to put it that way.
And is that worth, 1,000 gun deaths or whatever we have in this country a year? I mean, to me, it seems like we should be legalizing semi-automatic weapons to defend against tyranny, and not handgun weapons, which are primarily used to murder people in criminal actions.
Okay, so what's your plan? Just to take all the handguns off the street, nobody can ever own a handgun again. So if
That's right, and I realize fully automatic means and RPGs and whatever else we need to defend ourselves against tyrannical government. But I just don't see the point in a handgun, because any good soldier will tell you it's utterly useless in defending yourself from tyranny.
You should probably get your own show if you're not going to let me do my part and answer your question.
Go ahead.
All right. So if I, a private citizen, don't I have the right to walk down the street and be able to defend myself against anybody?
But you just said it's not about defending yourself against anybody. It's about defending yourself against tyranny. It's not about self-defense. It's not about hunting rights. That's my problem with it, the notion of handguns.
No, it is self-defense. It's self-defense against tyranny. It's self-defense against other people. It's self-defense in general.
But
that's
how the Constitution laid out.
Well, listen to me. There's a reason the Second Amendment didn't specify which weapons. The simple fact that if we had a tyrannical government or anybody else that enters your home, the fact that there might be somebody armed in there is a deterrent.
But it did specify it. It said a well-armed militia. It had no specification of self-defense against criminals. I mean, that's not the point of the Second Amendment. The point of the Second Amendment is an out-of-control government. And a handgun is literally going to do you nothing against that.
It also says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Correct?
Right. For the purpose of a well-armed and regulated militia. Let's get the first part of the Second Amendment in there. Let's not just cut it in half.
You're going into the theory there that the comma is like a pause and not necessarily you think it's a continuation
says,
of the...
For the purposes of a well-armed and regulated militia, the right of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed. Literally, it says this is the purpose for a well-armed and regulated militia. I mean,
which is the people. If you look up what the militia is, it's the National Guard and the people.
Right.
So go on.
Which handguns are utterly useless in defending yourself from a tyrannical government. This is my problem.
And the citizenry
I mean, I would support a handgun ban, which would eliminate all handguns, because those are mostly used in criminal actions of murder, not in self-defense, and certainly not in defense of from your government or from a tyrannical government. But I would open up. I mean, as a liberal, I would support opening up assault rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, landmines, anything else that could actually defend against a government, but not a handgun, which is solely for the purpose of concealing a weapon and usually to evade the law so that you can commit a criminal act of murder. I mean, that's what 97% of deaths in this country due to attributable to guns are from handguns. They're not from assault rifles. They're not from bombs. They're not from, bazookas. They're from handguns. So why are you so adamant on defending handguns rather than defending real
I'm adamant on defending all weapons. I'm adamant in defending all firearms under the Second Amendment, because once you allow them to take some away, they can now open up to go after the rest. Hold on a second, Evan, because I have Rooster on the line.
They've already taken away fully automatic weapons. They've already taken away rocket-propelled grenades. They've already taken away rocket launchers. You can't have an AK gun without a Class 2 FBI license. I mean, I don't understand how you can say that the Second Amendment is being upheld by allowing handguns.
Hey, Rooster?
Yes, sir.
Evan, this is my friend Rooster. I think he's going to have a quick discussion with you. We're getting near the end of the show.
Sure.
Let me talk for a few minutes, Evan. I understand you do own a gun?
Yes, I own several.
All right, handguns?
Handguns, automatic or semi-automatic weapons, and shotguns.
Okay. You any good with them?
I'm a decent shot. I'd like to be better, but I'm a decent shot.
What's the weapon you prefer?
For me, I'm a farmer, so I mostly like my shotgun because that's what I find the most effective and the most useful.
Okay. Let's say you wanted to bring down a tyrannical government. What weapon would you prefer?
None of the above. I don't.
None
think
of the above.
Utterly, I think that all of them would be utterly ineffective against an A1 Abrams tank or a Bradley fighting vehicle or a Humvee with a 50 caliber machine gun. I don't think that any of them would be any use at all.
No,
I mean, really,
I could take out a Humvee with a 45 caliber.
Oh, yeah, in your dreams. In your utter dreams.
In my dreams, hold on, Evan. A Humvee is not armored.
Combat breathe, relax.
A Humvee is not armored.
They are.
No, they're not, and I would know.
And how would you know?
Because I've ridden in one.
Oh,
I've driven one. I've fought in one.
Or Iraq or anywhere else. Because I hardly believe that a Humvee is incapable of stopping a 45 caliber round. It's simply, it's like literally shooting at a tank with a.
It'll go right through the windshield. The armor that you're talking about is at the bottom of the Humvee.
Utter nonsense. That's utter nonsense.
I could take you and your shotgun out with my 45 caliber pistol in about 2 seconds.
At what, 20 yards?
About 300 of my friends with 45 caliber pistols could.
You wouldn't
at 10 yards?
100 yards of me with my AR-15. You wouldn't stand a chance. The point is, handguns are utterly ineffective combat weapons, and any soldier who's worth his salt can tell you this.
Any soldier who's worth his salt would have that 45 caliber right on his hip.
No, any soldier worth his salt will have the AR-15 on his shoulder. I'm sorry, but handgun weapons are ineffective combat weapons. They're useless in combat, in real combat situations. They are a backup weapon, and any soldier
I am so glad, Shaun, that I stayed up tonight.
Hey,
if
Rooster,
not for anything else, for this call.
Hey, guys, I got to clean up the show. I'm glad we all got our opinion.
I'm sorry,
Evan,
but a handgun is, what, 25 yards? It's its accuracy range? I'm sorry, an AR-15 will take you out at 100 yards, no problem.
Evan, I have the talking stick right now, buddy. I got to close
when
out the show.
When the insurrection starts, Evan, I'll be there to protect you anyway.
And you'll be dead because I'll have killed you at 100 yards with my AR-15 while you shoot at me with your 9mm.
Okay.
Evan,
listen.
well, I'm an ex-Marine. I can get you at 500 , so have a good night, Shaun.
For the 9mm?
Hey, Rooster,
you show me
I'll use my AR-15 for that one.
Right.
Thanks,
exactly.
Rooster.
That's my point. So why are we defending handgun rights
because we defend all the Second
When rifles are really where it's at
all
when
of the
yourself
Second Amendment. It doesn't say purpose. The word purpose isn't in there. We defend all of the Second
principle
Amendment.
Doesn't matter, just as the law says Second Amendment. That's all that matters.
Let's look at the First Amendment. How about instead of we take away freedom of the press, because what good does that do?
I think the freedom of press serves a useful purpose. I don't think that handguns
But I
serve any
think handguns serves a useful purpose. The founders thought they all used it.
I just asked you, was it about self-defense or was it about tyranny from your government? Because I believe me, a drone strike, a Hellfire missile is going to do nothing against.
Hey, if you ever listen to the show, we have said time and again, we'd be one of the first people, if we could, to buy our own aircraft carrier and do our show from there. I understand what you're saying, but also understand that to defend the Second Amendment is to defend all of it. You can't start picking and choosing what you want the Second Amendment to be.
So why are you focused on handguns instead of bazookas and rocket-propelled grenades? Because I don't hear anybody talking about that.
People pulling the trigger. That's the real problem. Mental health, criminals. That's the problem. Not the gun.
I thought it was about tyranny, not about criminals. You just said it was about tyranny, not about criminals. This is my point. I mean, I hear conservatives talking about how it's really about tyranny and not about hunting rights and not about criminals and not about self-defense. It's about tyranny from your government. So if it's about tyranny from your government, why aren't we talking about the real weapons that are capable of defending you from your government rather than talking about the weapons that are really only capable of murdering other individuals within society?
In general. So we defend the entirety of the Constitution. You can't start putting labels where they don't exist, Evan. Hey, listen, I got to close the show, Evan. Feel free to call back anytime.
You're not willing to defend bazookas and rocket-propelled grenades and anti-tank weapons because those are what we're really saying. We just want to defend handguns.
No, listen to our show. We've said time and again, if you want to buy an F-18, if you want to own a nuclear warhead, we are completely believe that people should be allowed to. We've said that time and again, so listen to our show. But we also defend the entire Second Amendment. We don't pick and just choose long guns, shotguns, explosives, whatever. So we have said that time and again. We are on record time and again. So please feel free to call us back and listen. Maybe you'll enjoy the show when you hear the entirety of it.
So you support 97% of handgun deaths and murders in this country that are committed with handguns.
God, I'm not going to repeat myself. We'll talk to you next week, Evan. I don't understand. Maybe I wasn't clear about that. So I'm going to get in trouble from Clint because I got in an argument with somebody and I wasn't supposed to on the show tonight. All I was going to do was play clips and do a little bit of here and there, but it ended up working out. Rooster, I appreciate you helping us out there. I don't know if I was way off. Maybe I didn't get my point across. I do love Evan. I'm glad he's out there because, it takes all kinds, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. Thank you for everyone who joined us in the chat room tonight. Thank you for everyone who called us on the line. It was excellent. I really appreciated it. We will see you next Friday night. Clint and Soko will be back in. We'll do our regular format, our regular show, 10:30, right here on blogtalkradio.com/sackheadsradio. You can also get us at www.sackheadsradio.com. We are on Twitter at Sackheads and Facebook.com/sackheadsradio. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you next week. Have a great week.